Hey everyone, Brendan Kelleher here. So I generally cover a lot of science fiction on this channel, but Star Trek, particularly the original Star Trek, is where it's at for me. It occurred to me that while I've covered the Star Trek movies in great detail, I haven't covered the TV series too much, which is something I plan on doing more of in the future, along with all the other video projects I have planned. So I decided I should do my top 10 favourite episodes of all the pre-Alex Kurtzman Star Trek series. It makes sense to do them in chronological order, so to start off, here's my personal top 10 favourite episodes from Star Trek the original series. Coming in at number 10, Elaan Of Troyius from the third season of the show, which is generally considered to be its weakest, although there are a few gems in there to be sure. This is one I don't often see on any top 10 lists, but I really like it and think it's underrated. The storyline involves the Enterprise being tasked with transporting the Dolmen of Elas to her arranged marriage with the ruler of Troyius. As tensions rise between the two planets, Captain Kirk and his crew must navigate delicate political waters to prevent a potential war. During the journey, Kirk has to deal with the beautiful but hot-tempered Dolmen of Elas. When he is infected with a toxin that makes him fall in love with her, he has to deal with not just his uncontrollable desire for her, but also contend with an assassination plot and an attacking Klingon ship. First of all, Elaan of Troyius is a clever homage to Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew. The storyline parallels the classic play, with Captain Kirk playing the role of Petruchio, attempting to tame the fiery Dolmen of Elas, played by Franz Nguyen. One of the highlights of the episode is Kirk's amusing interactions with Elaan. Their banter and chemistry provide moments of humour amidst the drama of the threat of the pursuing Klingon ship. Additionally, the witty script keeps viewers engaged from start to finish. The dialogue is sharp and clever, with plenty of memorable lines of dialogue that would probably not make it into an episode of today's ultra-woke and politically correct Trek.
Mr. Spock, the women on your planet are logical. That's the only planet in this galaxy that can make that claim.
Despite being a bottle episode, Elaan of Troyius manages to be both funny and exciting. The confined setting doesn't hinder the action or suspense, making for a thoroughly enjoyable episode. Elaan of Troyius also offers a fascinating insight into Captain Kirk's character, as he comes to realise that his love for the Enterprise surpasses his romantic interest for the Dolmen. This revelation adds a layer of depth to Kirk's character, and highlights his unwavering dedication to his ship and crew. The musical score of the episode by Fred Steiner is a real standout. The stirring music enhances the emotional impact of key scenes, especially the battle sequences. Overall, Elaan of Troyius is a standout episode that combines clever storytelling, memorable characters, and a dose of humour that's a highlight of the otherwise weak third season of the show. Number 9. Bread and Circuses. This episode stands out for its unique blend of social commentary and classic Star Trek action. The crew of the Enterprise discovers a planet that mimics ancient Rome, with a 20th century twist, including televised gladiatorial games. One of the reasons I love this episode is its clever critique of modern society, using the ancient Roman setting to comment on issues like media sensationalism and the struggle for freedom. Kirk, Spock and McCoy find themselves in the midst of this society, navigating dangerous political intrigue while trying to rescue the survivors of a previous crash. Some of my favourite moments include the trio's capture and forced participation in the gladiatorial games. The dynamic between Kirk, Spock and McCoy is especially strong here, showcasing their camaraderie and differing philosophies. Spock's logical approach contrasts sharply with McCoy's emotional reactions, providing both tension and humour. It's also got one of my favourite Kirk scenes. After he's gifted a beautiful woman for the night before he's supposed to die in the games the next day, Kirk frees Spock and McCoy, and when they ask him where he's been, he says,
They threw me a few curves. No time to explain.
Bread and Circuses also explores themes of cultural interference in the Prime Directive, a central tenet of Starfleet. The episode ends on a hopeful note, with the suggestion that the oppressed population might find inspiration in the teachings of a peaceful new religion. Overall, Bread and Circuses is a standout episode for its thought-provoking story and the way it balances action with deeper themes. It's a prime example of how Star Trek can entertain while making us think critically about our own world. Number 8. Tomorrow is Yesterday. While the Enterprise technically did already time travel at the climax of the earlier first season episode, The Naked Time, Tomorrow is Yesterday was Star Trek's first true time travel adventure. The episode kicks off with the Enterprise being accidentally thrown back to the 20th century due to a black star's gravitational pull. Crew must navigate the complexities of being out of their time and the potential consequences of their presence on Earth's history. The crew encounters Captain John Christopher, a 20th century Air Force pilot who spots the Enterprise and is beamed aboard. His character adds an interesting dynamic as he represents the curiosity and skepticism of the 20th century towards advanced technology and space travel. This episode delves into the ethical dilemmas about altering the past. The crew debates whether to use drastic actions to prevent him from affecting the timeline. This exploration of the morality of time travel is a recurring theme in Star Trek. One of the highlights is the crew's clever solution to return to their own time without causing disruptions. They use a slingshot maneuver around the sun to generate the necessary time warp, which becomes a famous technique used in the later Season 2 episode Assignment Earth, and more memorably in the feature film Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. Tomorrow's Yesterday also features some great humorous moments. Watching the 20th century characters react to the futuristic technology of the Enterprise, like the transporter and communicators, adds a light-hearted touch to the episode. Also, this episode has one of my favourite examples of Kirk fu as the captain fights a bunch of 20th century soldiers. Overall, Tomorrow's Yesterday is a standout episode for its engaging time travel plot, ethical dilemmas, and clever solutions. It balances suspense with humour, making it a standout episode of the first season, and will provide a solid blueprint for future Star Trek time travel stories. Number 7. Space Seed. This episode is mostly remembered for introducing arguably the greatest villain in the whole Star Trek franchise. The Enterprise discovers an ancient Earth spaceship, the SS Botany Bay, adrift in space. Upon investigation, they find the ship's occupants in suspended animation. Among them is Khan Noonien Singh, a genetically enhanced human who once ruled a significant portion of Earth during the eugenics wars of the 1990s. Khan and his followers are revived, and it quickly becomes evident that Khan is a charismatic and formidable leader with grand ambitions. Khan attempts to seize control of the Enterprise, with the help of Lieutenant Marilyn McGivers, the ship's historian who is fascinated by Khan's strength and historical significance. Khan Noonien Singh, portrayed by Ricardo Montalban, is a complex and charismatic villain, involving both admirable qualities such as intelligence and leadership, and darker traits such as ambition and ruthlessness. Montalban's terrific performance left a lasting impression, making Khan a fan favourite and setting the stage for his return in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Like the best Star Trek episodes, Space Seed delves into profound ethical and philosophical questions. The episode examines the consequences of genetic engineering and the ethical implications of creating enhanced humans. It raises questions about power, ambition, and the potential for corruption when individuals possess superior abilities. Lieutenant Marilyn McGivers' character arc, though controversial, adds depth to the story by exploring the complexities of loyalty and fascination with power. Even if some of the interactions between her and Khan would be considered dated by today's standards.
A beautiful woman. My name is Khan. Please sit and entertain me.
Considering Khan is a relic of Earth's past though, that's kind of the point. Despite being a bottle episode, Space Seed has a lot of suspense and action, featuring intense confrontations both subtle at the dinner table and the struggle for control of the Enterprise. The only real fault with the episode is the final fight between Kirk and Khan, where it's so blatantly obvious that the stunt doubles took over. The ending is particularly memorable in that rather than send Khan and his followers to prison, he exiles them to a barren planet, giving Khan a chance to rule again. While it was clearly not the intention at the time, this laid the groundwork for Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan 15 years later. Number 6. The Menagerie. This story is the only two-part episode of the original series, and revolves around Captain Christopher Pike, the former commander of the USS Enterprise, who was left severely disabled after an engineering accident. Spock hijacks the Enterprise to take Pike to the planet Talos IV, despite it being off-limits due to its severe penalty for unauthorized visitation. As most fans know, this two-part episode was put together very quickly because the production team were falling behind schedule filming new episodes. Series creator Gene Roddenberry came up with an idea to use footage that had been shot for the first unsuccessful pilot, Cage, and incorporate it into a new episode as a framing device for what would essentially be a courtroom drama. This not only allowed the show to reuse existing material, but also provided fans with a glimpse into the series' early development and the character of Christopher Pike, which was the first example of really expanding the show's rich mythology and lore. While clip shows are often the worst form of television exploitation, the Menagerie offers profound insights into the characters of Spock and Pike. Spock's decision to risk his career and disobey orders to fulfill what he sees as his duty to Pike highlights the complexities of his loyalty and friendship, and the conflict between logic and emotion, which was a great piece of overall character development for Spock this early in the series. Despite his devotion to logic, this showed how deeply loyal he was to his friends. Meanwhile, Pike's struggle with his physical limitations and his ultimate choice regarding the Telosian's offer is one of the most deeply moving moments from the entire franchise, even if it is a massive spoiler for the eventual end of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. In addition to its compelling story and thought-provoking themes, Menagerie is also notable for its technical achievements and production values. The episode features impressive special effects for its time, including the creation of the illusionary world on Talos 4, which adds to the immersive quality of the story. Overall, despite the episode's origins as a budget-saving clip show, it stands out as one of the series' best storylines, and offers a fascinating glimpse into what a different show Star Trek could have been had Jeffrey Hunter decided to continue playing the character of Christopher Pike. Number 5. Journey to Babel. The Enterprise transports various ambassadors, including Spock's parents, to a crucial diplomatic conference. Tensions rise as a mysterious assassin threatens the fragile peace process, leading to a compelling mix of political intrigue and family drama with Spock's parents. This episode is particularly notable for introducing Spock's parents, Sarek and Amanda, and for showcasing the exceptional writing of D.C. Fontana, the first woman to write for Star Trek. Fontana's script not only deepened the lore of the Star Trek universe, but also explored complex themes of diplomacy, family dynamics, and personal sacrifice. Sarek, played by Mark Leonard, and Amanda, portrayed by Jane Wyatt, provide crucial insights into Spock's character. Their presence helps to flesh out Spock's backstory and the internal conflict he often faces as a Vulcan-human hybrid. Sarek embodies the stoic, logical nature of Vulcans, while Amanda represents the emotional and nurturing aspects of humanity. The interactions between Spock, Sarek, and Amanda reveal the tension within Spock, torn between his Vulcan heritage and human upbringing. Fontana's writing excels in developing character relationships and conflicts. The strained relationship between Spock and Sarek is a central focus, as Sarek disapproves of Spock's decision to join Starfleet instead of pursuing a career in Vulcan. Despite its focus on Spock and his family, this episode is a great showcase for Kirk as well. After being badly wounded in an assassination attempt, Spock takes command, risking his father's life, who is in need of a blood transfusion from him. This leads to Kirk having to convince Spock he's fit for command, despite his weakened condition, which is one of my favourite scenes of the whole series. Overall, Journey to Babel is a standout episode of Star Trek that exemplifies the series' strengths. Number 4. The City on the Edge of Forever. This is widely regarded as the best overall episode of the original series. While it's not number 1 on my list, it's definitely one of my favourites. The Enterprise is thrown to chaos when Dr. McCoy, accidentally overdosing on a powerful drug, escapes to a nearby planet and jumps through a time portal. This portal, known as the Guardian Forever, sends him back to 1930s Earth. Captain Kirk and Spock follow to prevent McCoy from altering history. They find themselves in the midst of the Great Depression, where they meet Edith Keeler, played by Joan Collins, a compassionate social worker with grand ideas for the future. However, they soon discover that in order to restore the timeline, they must ensure that Edith dies in a traffic accident, a heart-wrenching decision for Kirk, who has fallen in love with her. The story, written by the legendary science fiction author Harlan Ellison, is a masterful blend of science fiction and emotional drama. It takes the classic what-if scenario and explores the profound impact of one small change in history. Kirk's romance with Edith Keeler adds a level of emotional complexity rarely seen in the series. While Kirk had more than his fair share of romantic conquests in the series, what's remarkable is that you really feel that he's fallen deeply in love with Edith, thanks to the great chemistry between William Shatner and Joan Collins. Shatner's performance captures Kirk's inner conflict and heartbreak, making the episode's climax all the more poignant. As for the Guardian Forever itself, this ancient, mysterious time portal introduces fascinating possibilities for time travel within the Star Trek universe. Its enigmatic nature and the philosophical questions it raises about time and destiny are captivating. I just love its simplistic but intriguing design, which still looks great today. Despite the tragic nature of the plot, it's easy to forget that this episode is quite funny in places. as Kirk and Spock try to adapt to life in the 1930s. Also, like the best of Trek, this episode shows that you don't have to have crazy villains or space battles to have an engaging Star Trek story. In this episode, the antagonist is time itself, and there's a growing sense of tension toward the end of the episode as Kirk realizes Edith has to die. This episode transcends its usual space adventures to deliver a timeless story about love, sacrifice, and the delicate balance of history. However, it's such an atypical episode that I find it hard to rate it as my number one favourite, as there are a few more that I enjoy just a little bit more. Number 3. The Doomsday Machine. The Doomsday Machine is one of the most intense and gripping episodes of the series. The Enterprise encounters the badly damaged USS Constellation, adrift in space. Kirk and an away team beam aboard the Constellation and find Commodore Decker. Decker recounts a terrifying tale of a planet-destroying machine that obliterated his ship and killed his crew. Amongst the highlights of this episode is the dramatic tension between Captain Kirk and Commodore Decker. Decker, driven by guilt and desperation, takes command of the Enterprise and attempts a suicide mission against the Doomsday Machine. The special effects might seem dated now, but back then the Doomsday Machine was an impressive and terrifying creation. The episode does a great job of building suspense as the crew deals with the threat of the Doomsday Machine, as well as dealing with a captain obsessed with destroying it at any cost. Usually, I don't like it when Kirk is separated from Spock and McCoy for so much time in a Star Trek story, but here it works, as Kirk is stranded on the Constellation and tries to get it operational in time to stop the planet killer from destroying his ship and other planets in its way. This is the one episode that clearly benefits the most from the remastered special effects work done in conjunction with the show's Blu-ray release back in the day. I know some Star Trek purists prefer the original effects, but I actually do think the remastering effects work done for the whole series was very well done for the most part. The expanded shots of the Constellation, the Planet Killer, and the Enterprise are just brilliant, and really do make an already fantastic episode even better. William Wyndon gives an incredible performance as Decker, and is one of the best guest stars the show ever had. I also have to mention Sol Kaplan's fantastic musical score, which adds to the excitement. His motif for the Planet Killer really adds to the menace and dread of the Doomsday Machine. Interestingly, this episode formed the basis for the terrific Next Generation novel Vendetta, written by Peter David, where it was revealed that the Doomsday Machine was a prototype of a weapon designed to fight the Borg, a book well worth checking out. Doomsday Machine is a stellar example of Star Trek at its best. It combines strong character development, moral dilemmas, and exciting action. That's why it holds the number 3 spot on my list. Number 2. Mirror Mirror. Like many original series episodes, Mirror Mirror introduced unique and original science fiction concepts that would be used in many of the later Star Trek shows. In this case, the concept of parallel universes. The episode begins when Captain Kirk, Dr. McCoy, Scotty, and Uhura are negotiating with the peaceful Holokans to mine dilithium on their planet. While beaming back to the ship during an iron storm, they are accidentally transported to a parallel universe. In this universe, the peaceful Federation is replaced by the brutal Terran Empire. The ISS Enterprise is a stark contrast to the familiar ship that we know, with its ruthless crew and authoritarian regime. One of the most iconic elements of this episode is the alternate version of Spock, complete with a sinister goatee. Mirror Spock is still logical and efficient, but he's also willing to use fear and violence to maintain order. A key highlight of Mirror Mirror is watching our main crew adapt to this hostile environment while trying to find a way back home. They must quickly learn the rules of this brutal universe to survive. What makes it especially great though is the fact that most of the regular cast get to deliciously overact as they play their Mirror Universe counterparts. The episode does an excellent job of showing the dark reflections for our beloved characters. Mirror Sulu, for instance, is a sadistic security chief, and Mirror Chekhov is more than willing to betray and backstab. We only get a brief scene of William Shatner playing his Mirror counterpart, and given Shatner's unique, shall we say, acting style, it has to be seen to be believed. My only complaint with this episode is that we didn't get more Mirror Kirk. The gorgeous Barbara Luna plays Mirror Kirk's kept woman. She's my favourite female guest star of the entire series, and has some great dialogue to go along with her stunning appearance. In fact, this episode is great for the fact that many of the supporting cast of the show really get to shine here, which didn't happen often in the series. George Takei in particular is especially evil, as he tries to seduce Uhura and plots to take control of the ship. You can just tell that the entire cast had a great time filming this one. There's also nice and rare continuity in lore building as Captain Pike is mentioned as having been assassinated by Mirror Kirk in this universe. That guy just couldn't catch a break in any universe, could he? Despite all the campy fun, my favourite scene is when Kirk appeals to Mirror Spock's logic and humanity, planting the seeds of doubt about the Terran Empire's methods. It's a powerful moment that underscores Star Trek's enduring themes of hope and change. This episode laid the foundation for future Mirror Universe stories, in the likes of the Enterprise two-parter In a Mirror Darkly, and several episodes of Deep Space Nine. Mirror Mirror is an excellent example of Star Trek's ability to explore complex themes through exciting and imaginative storytelling. That's why it's my number 2 favourite episode. However, my absolute favourite episode celebrates the greatest strength of the show, the holy trinity of Kirk, Spock and McCoy, in Amok Time. The story begins with Spock acting unusually agitated and secretive. It's soon revealed that he must return to Vulcan to undergo a mysterious and vital ritual, where he must take a mate or he will die. Kirk, showing his loyalty and friendship, diverts the Enterprise to Vulcan, despite orders to the contrary. Upon arrival at Vulcan, we get our first glimpse of Spock's home planet and meet Pring, Spock's betrothed. The ceremonial setting is striking, with its unique Vulcan architecture and traditions. The twist comes when T'Pring invokes her right to challenge, choosing Kirk as her champion to fight Spock to the death. Kirk and Spock, despite their friendship, must face off in combat. The fight scene is intense and exciting, due in no small part to Gerald Fried's iconic music, which is just unforgettable nearly 60 years later. This episode came up with the iconic Vulcan hand signal, and Spock's final words to Stan as he gives up his claim to T'Pring is just so well written, true to life, and my all-time favourite Spock moment of the whole series.
You may find that having is not so pleasing a thing after all as wanting. It is not logical, but it is often true.
However, Amok Time is more than just a story about Spock having to get laid. It delves into the complexities of Vulcan culture, friendship, and loyalty. Kirk risks his career just to get Spock to Vulcan on time, by disobeying Starfleet orders. It really does highlight the friendship between these two, and demonstrates that McCoy, despite his constant arguments with Spock throughout the series, are in fact great friends. This is another episode that benefits from small but effective changes in the remastered version, which really expands the setting of the ritual on Vulcan. Despite the low budget of the original show, they really made an effort here with the unique production design and costumes for the Vulcans, laying the foundation for future Star Trek stories set on Vulcan. Interestingly, the character of T'Pau here would return decades later in the prequel series Enterprise, in a 3-part story set on Vulcan, one of that show's best story arcs. This episode stands out not just for its action and drama, but for its character development and world building. But most of all, like I said earlier, it celebrates the holy trinity of Kirk, Spock and McCoy. And just try to watch the final scene of the episode in sickbay without smiling. Can't. I've tried. So for that reason, amongst many others, is why Amok Time is my number 1 favourite episode of the original Star Trek series. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and share with your friends. Let me know your top 10 favourites of the original Star Trek series in the comments. Take care and see you in the next video. Bye for now.